Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 31 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you, as always, from New York. With me from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, the son of Northern Darkness himself, my friend Corey Butterworth is here. Corey, how's it going?
Good. I do like me some Northern Darkness. I'm not going to lie.
I know you do.
Cold, grim.
You're the black metal king. You're Mr. Black Metal over here. So what better way to honor that title than
with
throw in some Immortal lyrics,
right?
At you.
Yeah. I need to go back and listen to more Immortal. I really do. They need to do things.
Immortal,
I'll put it that way.
Immortal needs to go back and give us more music to listen to because it's been 5 years since All Shall Fall, and I'm like starving for new Immortal.
Then we'll talk about them when we have a thing to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, tis the season for black metal. And I'm going back to all the new black metal releases that came out this year, and I am a happy guy. But no, it's good. It's good, busy as always, doing the Boston Marathon thing, and yeah, just being angry and stuff. How about you?
I'm hanging in. It was tough getting back to work after Thanksgiving this week, but doing what I can. Got a fun week. Fun week coming up. We've got Heavy Devi on Saturday, so yes. That'll be fun. And
we might have a guest to help us discuss Heavy Devi next week. Actually, maybe.
Oh, I think we might. We'll see what we can.
We'll
see what we can pull together here.
Devi brings out the masses.
Yes, as always. But yeah, anyway, moving into our regular content for the week, let's talk about some headlines. First of which, the Megadeth Exodus, or as I'm going to call it, the Megadexodus. Lead guitarist Chris Broderick and drummer Sean Drover have quit Megadeth. Drover, after being in the band for 10 years, and Chris Broderick having been in the band since 2008, following the departure of Drover's brother Glenn. Both Chris Broderick and Sean Drover cited musical differences, thanked Mustaine for their time in the band, etc. The same old stuff you'd expect. I don't know about you, but it's nice having something bad happen to Mustaine that we can actually laugh at for a change. Obviously you don't want to poke fun at the unfortunate situation with his mother-in-law because that's just
no
sad.
Leave that alone. Yeah,
but this, I have no problem pointing my finger and laughing at him like a full-on Nelson from The Simpsons. Like,
I mean, the thing is, like, I'm sorry, Dave, we don't want to listen to your music anymore, and apparently some people don't want to play it anymore either. And that is something.
Oh, let's be real, Dave. We don't want to listen to your anything anymore. We don't want to listen to your music. We don't want to listen to your like half-cocked political shit.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
We want you to go away.
And this is a huge step in the right direction. Unfortunately, there are intrigues, in the maybe the reallocation of those spots in the band. Obviously,
we have had some speculation.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them developments because I don't know how official they are. We saw Dave Lombardo, ex-Slayer drummer, sort of unofficially invited himself to drum. He's like, hey, if they have a spot, I'm available. It's like, yeah, okay, sure, Dave.
AKA, I need a job.
Right.
Waiting
scoring horror movies just doesn't pay the bills, I guess. I would actually be all for that because there would be 3 guys in the band named Dave. It'd be a council of Daves.
We all like ourselves a good council. It's the only situation where I would want Dave Mustaine playing music with anybody is when he's in a council of Daves. And even then, it's more of a apathetic situation. The
question is, who would take over the 4th spot? What Dave would we get in for the 4th spot to make it a super council?
Jesus. I don't know. Whatever. It's, I just don't care. I would like to, because I like to say, oh, Megadeth has had some good times and, they're going to keep trucking along, as bassist Dave Ellefson said, who respects him a ton. I don't know. But he's convinced they'll be fine. No, I don't care. I'm sorry. Dave, go away. Both Daves, go away.
Well, the direction they've gone in,
is bad.
Especially after Super Collider, is just not one that I care about. Now, funny enough, there's also been speculation about going in a completely different direction and bringing back the remainder of the Rest in Peace lineup. Obviously, guitarist Marty Friedman, drummer Nick Menza. I don't see it happening, number one. Number two, even if it did, I don't know if I'd care.
I definitely don't see it happening. I think that's a little bit of wishful thinking on everybody's part. But still,
Marty's happy in Japan. He's got like a TV show and he's making J-pop records. And why the fuck would he want to come back to Mustaine?
Yeah, I mean that's an intriguing proposition. Like you said, it's not going to happen. I'd probably be like, oh, that's neat. Listen to one track and then stop caring again. But listening to one track is more than the listening to 0 tracks I've been doing for the last 5 years. So we'll see.
It's amazing, like how badly Megadeth needed a comeback in the late '90s and early 2000s, and then they did The System Has Failed, and you were like, "Wow, maybe they've righted the ship."
Right.
And then they completely wronged it again.
Megadeth.
I mean, we'll see. Maybe we'll care. Not likely. But yeah. So that's the situation with Megadeth. Chris Broderick and Sean Drover out. We'll see who's in.
I'll give it this much though. If there is, an overhaul here, they bring in 2 new members and everything is great, and they're gonna write new stuff. See, I would actually listen to a couple tracks, only because I've listened to nothing of the intolerable bullshit they've put out before, and maybe half the band being new might lead to some tolerable stuff. So, if nothing else, this change would get me to actually listen to something. Finally, I'll give them that much.
It's funny. A couple months ago, Metal Sucks did a joke article about Jeff Loomis joining Megadeth.
That they did.
Now, obviously, he's since gone on to join Arch Enemy, which I think is an inspired choice.
I agree.
But I think Jeff Loomis in Megadeth would have really had potential. I think a lot more potential. As interested as I am in seeing what he does with Arch Enemy, I think him in Megadeth would have had a lot more potential than him in Arch Enemy.
Yeah,
alas, it's not to be.
He could have taught Dave Mustaine how to play guitar.
I mean, it's all relative, Yeah, like we can bash Mustaine, but he's no Kerry King. I mean,
Yeah.
So
that is true.
Are we done talking about Megadeth? I don't want to waste any more podcasts.
I was done talking about Megadeth about 3 years ago.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's move on.
No more Megadeth. We'll see what happens there. Next up, we have a story that is not directly concerned with metal, but music industry in general. I thought it was worth bringing up here and ranting about on here. Corey, have you ever heard of an indie rock duo named Pomplamoose?
No, until about 5 minutes ago when I read the article. So I'll say no. Let's put it that way.
So Pomplamoose is from, I believe, California. And I don't even know what kind of music they make. Indie. Whatever it is, it's indie. It's probably not mixed well. And this story comes back about a week ago, but we want to discuss it here. Jack Conte from the band, one of the couple, I guess they're not husband and wife yet, but they are a couple duo in the band, published a blog post about how they recently completed a tour of the U.S., had a good time, and apparently made bank, at least by indie standards. They made $136,000 on tour, yet managed to lose money. You see, they also had almost $148,000 in expenses, and thus came out $12,000 in the red. Now, I know with any tour, you're going to have bands that have to give cuts to different people that help them out along the way: lawyers, managers, booking agents, people that work the merch table. I mean, you name it. Everyone's got to get their share.
Yeah,
but how the hell do you blow $148,000 on a tour as an indie band?
It's funny.
How do you do it?
I don't know. It's 2 people. I mean, it's funny, Dan, because we talk about metal and we go to a lot of metal shows, and I see these bands like Arsis pulling in with like Honda Civics, and they're just doing whatever they can do to play the gig that night. They don't give a shit. And these guys had a 42-foot van, which racked up like $12,000 in just driving the fucking thing.
What the hell is is this a moving van?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, do you really need the friggin' San Francisco 49ers team bus to go from venue to venue? Let's calm the fuck down, people. Like, Jesus.
Well, let's take a little bit. You mentioned the 42-foot van. Let's take a look at some of the other details they explained in breaking down these expenses.
Yes.
So 6 people went around on tour. In addition to the duo, there are 2 other live band members and 2 crew.
Okay.
Yet for 6 of them, they rented 4 hotel rooms wherever they went. And then this is the best part. The guy in the post says, nothing fancy, best Western level hotels. Fuck you.
If you have a 42-foot van, sleep in the fucking thing.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Seriously. You're renting, on top of that, they're renting a van, they're renting lighting equipment, they're renting sound equipment. How do you not own this stuff as a band? If you're going to be using equipment beyond what venues will give you, beyond the standard lights and sounds in a venue, how do you not own this? How do you have to rent all this stuff?
I don't know. I just...
This part, but coming up, trust me, it gets better. Salary for the band. Yeah, each of the two main members, Jack Conti included, take in $2,500 a month as salary, and they qualify this as an expense. The other people in the band, even better, get $20 a day for food. That's it. Like, are you kidding me here?
They kind of just, they got really, first of all, they need to learn a thing or two about economics, because you don't call revenue, which is what they're giving themselves as revenue, as an expense. It doesn't quite work that way.
Right.
Jesus. Holy.
You know what? I read this and I'm actually happy they lost so much money.
I am too.
If they're going to take this kind of piss poor approach to touring and then complain about it, fuck that.
Yeah. No, exactly. If your management is that bad and you want to live in this kind of a lifestyle, let's face it, a tour is, like, when you're going on tour, it's supposed to be a bit of a friggin' adventure. I know enough people in bands. I've been to enough shows. The whole shit. I know how it's supposed to work. You don't just friggin' live friggin' in luxury for a month. You're on the road. Be on the road.
Right.
Give me a goddamn break.
Unless you're something like I don't know, Coldplay or Lady Gaga or someone who can afford to live in luxury on tour. No, you don't do it. That's like going for a backpacking trip and driving through the woods in a Winnebago as opposed to pitching a tent.
And we all know how much I hate those people. Right. I hate car camping.
It's like, try being like Pomplamoose, take a step back and try being literally any metal band.
Yeah.
Try being the guys in Black Crown Initiate whose van is like, they own a van, but it's just crapping out on them, and they have to start an Indiegogo or a YouFundMe or whatever the heck Kickstarter
and their
account
van,
for a new van.
Their van, it's not like a 42-foot van. It's not even like a conversion van with potential beds in there. It's like one of those.
It's like a Chevy Astro van.
There's a bunch of shitty plastic seats in the back, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Try being those guys. Try being a group like Diarrhea Planet, who tours nonstop and has probably lost their share of money along the way, yet are always posting stuff about how much fun they're having and how grateful they are to be able to do this and to be able to play with people.
Exactly.
And you're going to complain because you're too freaking stupid to manage your money properly?
3 words, Pomplamoose.
Eat a dick.
Get over yourselves.
Pomplamoose.
Get over yourselves. Now.
Seriously.
This is why I don't like your genre of music. No offense, I don't mean to call it the entire genre, but generally speaking, I don't like this attitude. I prefer, bands that handle tours with a little bit more, I don't know, humility and intelligence. Yes, exactly. Bands that are actually doing it because they want to share their art with people and they don't give a fuck how luxurious they're living. Give me a goddamn break. Get over yourselves. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm done too. I mainly because if we talk about this anymore, I'm just going to blow a gasket.
This could have been a horns down, really.
Yeah, could be. So yeah, Pomplamoose, fuck
you.
Our final headline of the week. Just wanted to post this. Just wanted to include this one for fun, because Rolling Stone. We're into December. We're in the first week of December. We're hearing and seeing year-end music lists, best of lists from different publications.
Everybody's got one.
And Rolling Stone naturally has issued their top 50 of the year, and it is just so hilarious that we wanted to rag on it a bit here because it's Rolling Stone. They're just like a walking bullseye at this point. I'm just gonna call out some of the highlights right here. Starting out, we've got Yob at number 50. It's the token. Hey guys, we have to make sure we don't seem completely out of touch band. Let's throw a random heavy album on there to give us some metal cred.
At number 50, barely
one metal album.
One metal album at the very
album.
end of it. Shut the fuck up, Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see what else we got.
We've got the War on Drugs. They made the list. I actually agree with that. I love the War on Drugs. I thought their album Lost in the Dream was fantastic. Only they put it a spot behind Skrillex. Are we for real now, Rolling Stone? Run the Jewels made the list. They made it. Run the Jewels 2, one of my top 5 albums in any genre this year. They made the list just a spot behind Lana Del Rey. No big deal. No big deal. My favorite is it's the most obvious Rolling Stone pick you could possibly have. Picks, I should say. And numbers 1 and 2, we've got U2 and Bruce Springsteen because of course we do. Like Jan Wenner likes classic old bands like I don't even know, like Kim Kardashian likes black dudes. I mean, it's just I'm not even mad at this list per se. Like don't get me wrong here, folks. I'm not mad at this list because ultimately year-end lists are like assholes. We all have them. You know, Rolling Stone has one, Stereo Gum has one. We're going to be breaking down ours. We're going to be starting to break down ours shortly.
Yep.
But I think they're hilarious. I think it's just hilarious how desperately the baby boomers at Rolling Stone, Jan Wenner and co, have become in trying to cling to hipness.
Yeah,
it's like they're not hip anymore. There's not a single thing on this list that feels genuine.
See, no, there's not. It all seems forced. I looked through it, and obviously I couldn't pick out more than maybe 5% of the albums or bands on here because I'm very one-sided with it when it comes to music. But the fact of the matter,
I'm actually going to correct myself because I guarantee you they are genuine about U2 and Bruce Springsteen.
Of course they are.
There is a minimum at Rolling Stone. Whenever either of those bands releases a new album, there is a minimum of 4.5 stars allotted to it.
Jesus.
Bob Dylan's another one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Neil Young probably.
The publication is just such garbage these days anyway. It doesn't even matter. But in all, no, it's. I went through this and I was laughing the whole goddamn time. Nothing made sense. Yob was in there and was like, oh, way to, like you said, represent at number 50 with one album because you have to. And they start off the review, I guess you could call it the review, of the U2 album, and they say there was no bigger album of 2014 in terms of surprise, generosity, and controversy. And I keep thinking to myself,
generosity.
And I'm just like, what?
Generosity.
Are you just like picking words now? I mean, give me a fucking break. Jesus.
We're going to force you to download this album and call it generous of us. Like, what the shit is that?
Oh my god!
My favorite. I know. We talked about this. For you non-sports types out there, Spencer Hall, who is the editor of SB Nation, Sports Blog Nation, wrote a tweet yesterday. He occasionally comments about non-sports things. He wrote a tweet yesterday at EDSBS. Too bad Neil Young didn't release a 38-minute tape of him singing over a Roomba because that'd be Rolling Stone's album of the year. And I was like, that is just so perfect.
Oh my god! I just
it's like after you get the token old guys on there, it's like Mitt Romney on the campaign trail. It's like, quick, what do people want to see in a year-end list?
Right.
Let's put it on.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds
Hope for
good.
the best.
Yeah, right.
It'll sound legit, right?
No, I don't know. I just Jesus Christ, dude. It is funny. It's funny. It's hilarious to look at. It's hilarious to talk about. But it's also just. Oh, it's a face palm. It's a head shake. It's a go the fuck away like you should. I don't know. Whatever. I thank you for the amusement.
Classic Rolling Stone. It's classic Rolling Stone hilarity.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even get mad at it. I'll reserve an ample amount of sarcasm for it, but it's just like whatever. Rolling Stone is like winning a Grammy anymore. It's like, who the fuck cares?
You pat him on the head. You say, "Job well done. We'll see you next year." That's
now go back to the special bus.
Exactly. The short bus is waiting for you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of year-end lists, though, we're going to wrap up headlines. And as I mentioned on the blog in this week's edition of Just a Tip, we are not going to do any new releases this week. We are going to instead look back at some old releases. We are going to start our top 25s of the year. I don't know that any of these are going to be ordered except for our final four, which you will be hearing about 2 weeks from now.
And to be completely honest, my final four won't be ordered either. They'll just be my four favorites in no particular order.
Yeah,
just an FYI.
This is true. But yeah, we're going to get into, we'll do three each this week, 3 each next week. And then over the course of the following week, I guess the 15th to the 19th, you're going to see our normal blog content replaced completely. We're going to do 3 blurbs a day on our favorite albums and ultimately close with our top 4 on episode, I guess it'll be 33. So with all that said, breaking down some old releases, Corey, we'll start us off. We'll alternate here. What do you got on your list for this year?
Yeah, let's start things off with Allegiance, Elements of the Infinite, which came out June 24th. I filed this one into the, I guess you could say the pleasant surprise category, but it's more of a jump into my spectrum of attention category. This is a band I had not previously really been all that familiar with, really for no other reason than the fact that the whole tech death scene, it's not a fixture for me. I like, my Obscuras and all that stuff, but I just don't see enough deviation between bands to really care that much.
There's a lot of same soundingness.
There is, right, and I've got my piece of it, and that's fine. But these guys, they don't necessarily do anything super groundbreaking, but they do a really, really, really fantastic job of working in melodic elements to the point where this album is less wanky, more just epic. And I gotta point to the closer, Genocide for Praise, Vows for the Vitruvian Man.
Vows for the Vitruvian Man.
Which is just unbelievable. It is an unbelievable highlight of the album. It's
that intro. Oh my God.
There's nothing like it. It's done something for me that the tech death scene just hasn't really done. I mean, yes, it's got your catchiness, it's got your incredibly impressive musicianship, but it's got that epicness, that like powerful, emotion-driven like depth to it, and it's just a perfect blend of melody and technicality. It really is. Super memorable album. It threw a legend right in my spectrum. I'll be following these guys for a long time. They're young. They're new and upcoming still. At least I think this is their breakout album. And for what it's worth, this was one of my most fun shows of the year. So I got to give them credit. Round of applause. Job well done, Allegiant. It's a good listen.
Excellent. Yeah, I think not to spoil things, but I think you may end up seeing this on my list going forward.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good one. And by the way, this whole album was a freaking complete impromptu binge buy at Pomplamoose. You were here. It was Timbers Revs weekend, and I was just looking for CDs to buy like I usually do, because when I'm bored I buy CDs. And Dan goes, "Here, this was good," and I'm like, "Okay, buying it," and no regrets. So
yeah,
A+.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously a great start. I'm going to talk about for mine. Again, this is not in order. This is not my 25th favorite album of the year. I'm going to talk about Paul Bearer's Foundations of Burden. Just an absolutely tremendous doom record. I will admit I hadn't known too much about Paul Bearer before this record. I since went back and listened to their back catalog, which luckily for me is only one album, right. Sorrow and Extinction.
Right.
And I thought, while I thought that was a pretty solid album, this clearly was a huge step forward for the band. It just sounds like a modern version of Black Sabbath, like early Black Sabbath. You've got these just trudging, dirgy tracks that work in really an incredible sense of melody. I mean, the guitars almost sound like they're singing to you. Speaking of singing, Brett Campbell, vocals are just his vocals are just as haunting and desperate as anyone in the doom subgenre.
Metal scene, yeah, absolutely.
I think of his opening vocal lines on Worlds Apart, the opening track on the album, and
incredible.
A full 4 months later, these things are still sticking with me. I still go back and I'm hearing these in my head. It's just fantastic. The production was excellent too. Billy Anderson obviously has done a ton for different bands around the genre, around the metal genre, I should say, not just for doom bands. Just an all around incredible album. Foundations of Burden. I'm surprised that if Rolling Stone was going to include a token metal band on their list, I was surprised it wasn't this album.
Right.
This has, I could see this having an incredible crossover appeal, aside from the fact that, the songs are relatively, on the long side. It's 6 songs in 55 minutes. But just everything here sounds pristine, tremendous effort from top to bottom. I really, really enjoyed this. And, as was the case with you and Allegiant, the album is enough for me to want to go see the band. I'm probably going to get tickets for the At the Gates Val and Fire Converge show that they recently were announced to be joining.
Exactly.
Regardless of my complete non-interest in seeing that show otherwise, I'll go for Paul Bearer.
Yeah, for what it's worth. Yes, Paul Bearer is amazing. Val and Fire is amazing, but we'll be seeing them at MDF later on anyway. For what it's worth, the At the Gates record has grown on me slightly since I've, gone back to it a couple of times, so I'll go to that show as well. And let's face it, we both fucking blew our chances of seeing this band earlier this year anyway with Vatna Viskar. Just complete shit the bed on that one.
Yeah, the tickets for that show sold out before I'd even heard the album.
Yeah, I was just hungover.
So thus before I'd even heard of the band.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was just hungover. That's my fault.
Yeah.
But no, great album, great band. I'm excited to follow them pretty much going forward, really.
Definitely. All right, next up, what do you got?
Let's get weird for a little bit. Let's go with Arcona's Yav.
Ooh.
Yeah, it came out.
Don't we?
Yeah, it came out April 25th. This is another early one-ish. And the fact of the matter is, the first time I went through it, I just had an absolute blast. It was a ton of fun. The music was interesting, completely unfamiliar to me. For one, I hadn't listened to the band beforehand. This was pretty much the entry CD for me. And also those crazy, less than standard Russian instruments that they use all over the place. Yeah, it just really brings out some really cool melodies, really cool rhythms that I just don't get otherwise. Masha Scream, her voice.
Your girl Masha Scream.
Oh man,
of course.
She has officially projected herself into one of my favorite people in metal at this point. Her voice is eerily, creepily beautiful, and both when she uses I guess it's singing. I don't know Russian, and frankly, she kind of is too. The album, just in general, does a ton.
wait, she kind of is too. Kind of
eerily
kind
beautiful.
Of Russian.
Eerily beautiful.
Oh, okay, I got you. I think you were saying kind of Russian. I was like,
no, she's pretty. She's pretty much very Russian. She's pretty much very Russian. She went completely Russian, as if it was a choice. But the album is all over the place in a good way. It does so much. It finds a way still to stay true to form, which I appreciate. It's kind of like an adventure of a listen. I think of the more powerful entry song, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, and then you've got that Nastratsa song, which is just super interesting.
That is my favorite on the album.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's a longer track. I think it's 8 minutes or something. But just the way they change it up over and over again, it just makes it work. I don't know. It's a nice blend of it's got a nice heavy upbeat side, but at the same time a rather melodic, almost like a somber feel at times, like on Serbia, for example. This album did tend to kind of get lost in the shuffle for me a bit over the course of the year, for no real reason. It does take a little bit of effort to listen to just because of how unique it is, but I have gone back to it recently, and that has been an absolute pleasure without a doubt. So definitely a memorable one for me for this year. Arcona, all the way from Russia. Yav.
All righty, good stuff. I am going to get into one that was actually probably, at least in metal, it was my surprise of the year. Going to talk about Misery Index,
nice.
The Killing Gods. They obviously had changed labels since their last album, Heirs to Thievery. They're on Season of Mist now. It had been 4 years since their last album, and to be perfectly honest, I had never really been all that into Misery Index before,
right.
But I gave this thing a listen, and it's pretty fantastic. It's not quite death metal, it's not quite grindcore, it's just an ass kicker. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, songs like Conjuring the Call, Gallows Humor. I mean, they're the stuff that this thing came out back in May,
right.
And I'm still listening to several, if not all, of these songs in regular rotation on Spotify. Just absolute tremendous musicianship. Some of the guitar solos are fantastic. All of the drumming. Adam Jarvis, I'm going to take a pause here. The drumming on this thing, Adam, you are my dude. This thing is wonderful. A wonderful display of drumming. It's just a tremendous listen. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Misery Index, The Killing Gods, pleasant surprise of the year, and ultimately a top 25 entry for me.
This was what was it? It was early May. It came out, right? One of the first couple weeks in May.
It was around Memorial Day week. It actually dropped during Maryland Death Fest, I believe.
That's right. I wish
right around Maryland Death Fest, because that was a Friday to Thursday
to Monday. Yeah, Thursday through Memorial Day. I only wish that album had come out maybe 2 weeks prior, because for all things considered, and plus it was just a bad day in general, but I wasn't that high on Misery Index at MDF, and if I'd been more familiar with this album, I probably would have been all about it. So I wish I could have had a couple weeks with it first. Yeah. But it was a good album. That's a good choice.
Anyway, your final one, you're going to change gears a bit, get into our favorite, some Mellow Death.
Yeah, well, one of our favorites. as far as subgenre goes, yes, working into the melodic death metal subgenre. I'm looking at Insomnium Shadows of the Dying Sun, released April 29th. Just, and this came out just at the right time. Just when the melodic death metal scene started to, dare I say it, bore me a little bit, this thing jumps into the picture.
No.
Yes!
You never.
I mean, Amorphous, no offense, I thought Circle was a good album, but it didn't last
this
very
from
long.
the guy who will buy every In Flames album because respect.
Yes. It doesn't mean I like
Mellow
them.
Death is starting to bore you? What is that nonsense?
Well, first of all, there are bands like Amorphous who I will always love, and I always, when I first give their albums a spin or two, I love them to death, and then a couple months later, usually they just kind of fade out. Unfortunately, it's been that way since Skyforger, which I still go back to all the time, by the way. In Flames,
Likewise.
Yeah, In Flames just isn't that good anymore. I still go back to Clayman and Colony all the time, but whatever, that's not now. And then this little guy creeped along, and it was a band somehow I had not really discovered enough previously. And as soon as I remember listening to this thing, as soon as I heard that build up on Primeval Dark and the way it just kept building on itself and threw yourself right, or made you throw yourself right into While We Sleep, I was hooked, like instantly. It was awesome. This is the way I wanted metal. Words again. This is the way I want melodic death metal to sound. I want it to be, I want that nice combination of clean and fierce vocals mixed in there, layered over that crazy rhythmic percussion and, just those guitar tones and harmonies that are just flat out beautiful. For some reason, this album has just done melodic death metal better for me recently.
Yeah.
It's
well, there was almost a natural, almost atmospheric quality to it, which I kind of liked.
That's
not more than kind of liked. I really liked. I'm thinking of like The River, for example. Just a absolutely fantastic song.
Yeah.
And it kind of pulls you in into thinking you're hearing something almost. I don't want to say folky, but like more earthy.
And that's funny you mention that, because I do see the album as almost, because of all that, almost as inspirational in a way as it is kind of sobering, because it is sobering on a lyrical level at least. But this is an album that when you need a little something extra, in a workout, hiking, or whatever it may be, on a run, when you start this album off, it just gives you that little extra something. It does that because of that that epicness, that folkiness to it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of something. If Yari Manpa could rein in his ego and put together something simple and straightforward, tall order, I know,
right?
But if he could do that, it might sound a little bit like this,
right? Exactly, a tall order indeed. And to be completely fair, this is an album I've gone back to this year more frequently than I thought I would. The first couple times through it, I was like, wow, this is unbelievably catchy. It's a beautiful album. It's brilliantly written. Will it fade on me? And will it fade quickly? And the fact of the matter is, I just listened to it about an hour before this podcast. It hasn't one bit. It hasn't one bit. The album, while it doesn't deviate a ton from start to finish, it does give you different sounding tracks. They bring in, what's the name of it? Lost Tonight, which is a fucking ballad for Christ's sake. But then as soon as that ends, it kicks into the incredibly high tempo collapsing words. So they do a nice job. It's well written. It's well put together. That little change up comes right in the middle of the album, which is a perfect timing. It's not too long. This easily probably. I mean, this is definitely in the top 25. It really did sneak into the top 10 for me. I've enjoyed it throughout the year. It's been a joy. Absolute awesome. Insomnia.
Very nice.
It made me work backwards from that album too. I just picked up Across the Dark, which I'm glad to see these guys haven't changed a ton over the years, but it's working right now, so that's cool.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Bingo.
Good stuff. Well, for my final old release of the episode, I'm going to get a little bit silly with things. I'm going to talk about one that is not going to move heavy metal forward. It's not going to really push any boundaries. But it is a hell of a lot of fun. I'm going to talk about Steel Panther's All You Can Eat, and I'm not ashamed. I love Steel Panther. I said it. I love Steel Panther. I think they're a ton of fun, and All You Can Eat is no exception. We've got just tremendous song after tremendously hysterical song. Stuff like Glory Hole. There's a song on this record called Bukkake Tears, for God's sake.
That's my favorite one.
There's one called She's on the Rag. It's like there's also, I will say, like Party Like Tomorrow is the End of the World is just like an indisputably, whatever the word is, indisputably great, like
Party
pop
song.
metal tune.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so catchy. It's so much fun. I've put this on actual party mixes at my apartment. It's just a ton of fun. And the live show, I will admit, the live show is a ton better than they are in the studio, because just seeing them riff on stage, just improving, is hysterical.
It is.
But this thing, I mean, what I enjoyed most about this album is, like, even though they are ostensibly a joke band, you can tell they really do love this music.
Right.
This is a really, like, loving tribute to pop metal. And I think they're so committed to it, even if it is a joke, that I respect them for it. I respect them, like, full-heartedly for the caricature that they do of it.
Well, it's kind of like, not obviously in the same spectrum, but it's kind of like Gwar. If you're going to be a joke and you're going to be kind of gimmicky and have fun with it, if you go all into it, I'm going to fucking love the shit out of it. Like, if you're all about it, then you've got me hooked. I'm not as crazy about these guys as you are. I enjoy them. They're fun. They're entertaining. And seeing them say Titten over and over again in Germany at Wacken was pretty much the funniest thing on the face of the earth. Because they're doing their same back and forth, and they're doing the same thing, pulling girls on stage to dance around topless during their songs like that. And they just kept yelling Titten instead of tits, which was just like, okay, you replaced one word, but everybody already knows what that word means. So it was just fucking hilarious. And more than that, they did so well at Wacken, because I feel like that area of Europe, and especially, I guess, I don't know if it's because they're behind or just for whatever reason, they love their, like, dad metal. They love their power metal. They love their, ridiculously cheesy stuff that we make fun of all the time. They freaking love it, though. So they love the music for what it actually was without thinking of it as a joke, and then they're just entertained as shit because there's tits everywhere and they're joking nonstop. Right. So they did so well, and they put on a great show. So that was a blast. I had to throw that in there if we're going to be talking about Steel Panther, of course.
Steel Panther, All You Can Eat. This is actually this came out on April Fool's Day. Actually,
perfect. I remember that.
Yeah. So Steel Panther, no shame. They're in my top 25 for the year. I enjoyed the hell out of this thing.
They had to be mentioned at some point in a year-end anything. They had to be.
Yeah. So that will wrap up our old releases for the week. You've got your first little glimpse at our top 25s. As I said before, we'll be continuing this in next week's episode. We'll be doing this on the blog the following week. Stay tuned. We'll break down our list little by little. We're going to keep you interested little by little. So all that said, that'll wrap up our releases section. Let's move into our final segment. Let's do horns up and horns down. Starting with horns up. Corey, what do you got this week?
I could talk about a number of things. I could talk about my Satan's reindeer sweater that I'm currently wearing, which is adorable and hilarious. I could talk about, the excessive binge I spent at Bullmoose on new CDs, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to get back into sports a little bit here. I would like to talk about... the crux will be the New England Revolution making the MLS Cup final. That's really cool. Great for them. I'm really happy. I'm actually going to be pulling for them. I got the scarf and all that crap at my house that I'll be breaking out for the final on Sunday. But more than that, because I'm not just going to talk about an awesome our team doing well, I want to talk about how awesome the viewing of the game was at the local soccer pub in Portsmouth. I walked into this place mostly just out of sheer boredom. I wanted some lunch. I didn't want to cook. I was lazy. Any number of reasons. It's a 5-minute walk, and people will serve me things. That sounds pretty damn good. And I walk in, and the place is pretty well packed. There's not many open seats, but I sit at the bar, so it's all good. The game's on, and it's the first half, and, it's, I think at the time it was either 1-0 or 1-1 or something, and people were just kind of chatting or whatever. And then I realized that as, I watched a couple goals scored or whatever, the place starts freaking out as the game moves along. Like, it was like a World Cup game. We get into the second half, the Red Bulls score their second goal, right? They go up, all of a sudden we're even on goal differential and away goals. So if the score holds, the game goes into extra time and possibly PKs. When Charlie Davies scored the second goal for the Revs, the place went nuts. Nuts, and it was awesome. And I'm sitting there thinking, here I am watching the game kind of by myself just as something to do in a public space because, I just needed to get out of the house a little bit. This is as big as a draw here as some of those U.S. games were, like against Ghana. And it's awesome. It's awesome for the sport. It's awesome for the team that has to play in a goddamn football stadium every week.
Not for much longer, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. Not
They're working on building a stadium in Boston.
You mean Robert Kraft actually doing something for something that's not the Patriots? I'm stunned.
Yeah,
no,
shocking.
I actually am stunned. This selfish bastard. I don't like Robert Kraft much.
I don't think anyone outside New England does.
Yeah, it's true.
And maybe a lot of people in New England don't.
I'm one of them.
Apparently.
Hi. But no, it was for really. Obviously, the result was awesome. But just seeing the league that get that much of a pull was just awesome. I mean, I did have people asking me questions like, "Oh, what does this mean now that it's tied? What does this mean now that we're losing? Are we automatically eliminated? Is there going to be a third game?" And I actually enjoyed answering those questions because
just the fact that people are curious about it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, and I loved educating them. And the fact they were like getting more into it because of what they now knew. It was awesome. It was great, and I want the league to succeed. I want to see the talent in the league grow. I want to see the following grow. I want to see it generate more income and more revenue. And I was happy. It was a good day, good situation. Yeah. So that's easily a horns up for me.
Well, so now here is the question. We got MLS Cup. We've got the Revs, and we've got
the Galaxy.
Our boy Landon Donovan. Landon's last stand.
Yeah.
Who do you like here? Who are you thinking it's going to be?
I actually think it's going to be. See, the game's in LA though. That's what makes it so tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
doesn't do the Revs any favors.
No, it doesn't. The thing is, it's tough because the Galaxy have the home field. Obviously, they're a great squad. They have a great team. The Revs are the hottest team in the MLS right now by distance. They've won something like 13 out of 14 matches with a draw in there somewhere. So they're on an absolute tear. And Jermaine Jones has completely changed that team. And personally, I love Jermaine Jones to death. I think he's a freaking badass. I think he's freaking hilarious because he's just a big goofy, can't really speak English American because he's been in Germany for 90% of his life. But the Galaxy have won in a few years. Landon, he's in, obviously, this is it. The Revs lost 3 straight MLS Cups, in the past decade or so. I'm going Revs. I'm going with the I guess you could say the underdog in this one. I think they're just too hot. I think they're on too good of a roll right now.
It's interesting. I was under the impression, I was thinking that maybe the MLS isn't as rigged as people
right
sometimes tend to allege.
Yeah.
I was thinking they were going to rig it to set it up with Landon on the one side on the Western Conference,
right,
and our single season record tying striker from here in New York, Bradley Wright Phillips, from the Eastern Conference. Yeah. They didn't fix it apparently.
That's nice. That's
refreshing. Full credit to the Revs. Full credit to the Revs for making it through.
Yeah.
It's we'll see.
Yeah.
I kind of as thrilled as I am for the Revs for the season they had. As jerked around as Landon was by the national team this year, I kind of want to get him. I kind of want to have him go out on top. I want Landon to go out with the title.
Yeah, that'd be fair. That would be fair. I wouldn't be all that upset about it. But hey, man, I was in a bar with a bunch of people cheering for the Revs, and generally speaking, I'm more of a casual fan because the Timbers are my team. But I was into it. I really was.
Yeah,
it was hard not to be. It was addicting. So. We'll see. It's going to be fun.
Hey, at least we can agree on, as Timber fans, at least we can agree on not Seattle.
Yeah, I know, right? That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah.
But no offense.
Good job, LA.
That was, I think, if you want to say anything was rigged, I think the Seattle-LA match happening could have been your evidence for it.
Yeah,
Clint
maybe
Dempsey, Landon Donovan. Oh, well.
Yeah. Good stuff, though. I am also going to use my horns up to talk about sports for the first time in a little while, I believe. So I went, my brother and I went to the Barclays Center this past Sunday. Went to see the Bulls and the Nets. I should say the Nets and the Bulls because the Barclays Center is the Nets arena.
Right.
But our team is the Bulls. I've been a Chicago Bulls fan my entire life. I've seen them play 3 times over the last few years. At no point had I ever seen our star point guard Derrick Rose in action. Of course, he's been injured the last couple of years. He tore his ACL, missed a season, tore his meniscus, missed all but 11 games of a season. Finally, this Sunday, he's back. He's been nursing just about every kind of day-to-day injury possible over the course of the year. He's had hamstrings, he's had ankles, you name it. But he played on Sunday while we were there. And it was great.
That's awesome.
The Bulls won by 20. Rose had like 14, 15 points. Jimmy Butler put up 26. Pau Gasol put up 25 and 11 boards. Nikola Mirotic, Eastern European basketball Jesus, had a double-double. Like, it was everything I could have asked for in a game. We saw Kevin Garnett's like nursing home ass start a game somehow. How the dude is 38 and still being asked to start
doing anything
in an NBA game is beyond me. But he's a definite keep getting them checks kind of guy. But yeah, it was great. It was great. I had a blast. My brother had a blast. So yeah, that was my horns up. Saw the Bulls. Finally saw Derrick Rose play. They won by 20. I mean, I can't ask for much more.
It's a good one
as a basketball fan.
That's a good one.
Opposite side of the coin, horns down. What's been pissing you off this week? What's been grinding your gears?
This was a bit of a stretch because things have been generally good. When things get dark and depressing, I get happy. But unfortunately, I still need to do things like, drive places in my life, and be a productive human being. And with the grim and frostbitten New England winters, we get grim and frostbitten roads. Me, I don't care. I've lived here my whole life. I've been driving for almost a decade on them. They're fine. I don't care.
I'm picturing roads with corpse paint.
That'd be the best. That'd be the absolute best. So I've been living here my whole life. The roads don't bother me too much. I know how to deal with a little bit of snow on the roads. I know how to deal with a little bit of ice in my car. Unfortunately, for some reason, around that first snowfall, that first anything cold, people all of a sudden regress to 15-year-old learner's permits that live in Florida that are visiting New England for a goddamn long weekend, and they completely forget how to deal with it. They're all over the place. They're either driving 5 miles per hour, or they're driving 65 thinking it's still a summer, and they go careening into the friggin' wall. I don't know. It drives me up a friggin' wall, and it's just... Guys, I see you every day. I drive on the roads you drive on every day. We've been doing this for many, many, many years. It doesn't change a whole lot. This is half of our year. How have you not figured this out yet? You're making me get home way too late than I want to. You're making me leave for work way too early than I want to. And I just want to get out of my car, walk over to your window, slap you and say, "Remember last February?" And then get back in my car and proceed. Because this is getting to be kind of bullshit. This is a thing we do. We drive in the snow. Stop panicking over 3 inches of snow. It's not that big a deal. It really fucks up my jam when I want to do things like, things. But it comes and goes. The ship will right itself in just a matter of weeks. But whatever. I don't know. Fucking people needing to learn how to drive in the snow every goddamn year is definitely my horns down. Mostly because we got snow recently.
Yeah. Do you have any sitting on the ground right now, or are you guys in the clear?
No, we got hit pretty hard at the end of last week. The day before Thanksgiving, I think it was, but it's all cleared itself out at this point. We had some pretty good melting this weekend. Snow doesn't bother me. I like it. It's pretty. It's good for using my camera purposes. The only impact it has on me is that it makes running a complete pain in the ass.
I bet.
Because I don't do the treadmill thing. But nothing on the ground now. I don't think anything's in the near forecast, but it's gonna come. It's not Syracuse frequent, but it happens.
Yeah.
Oh well.
What can you do? What can you do except throw people into your horns down?
Honk at them and swear at them and flip them off. Right?
Yeah. There you go. Well, I am also going to talk about assholes this week. Different kind of assholes, though. I'm going to talk commuting assholes, but a different kind of commute. I'm going to talk about subway assholes because I don't know. It feels like over the last couple of weeks, I've just encountered every type of subway riding asshole that you could ever want to run into. There have been the types that it'll be rush hour, yet one asshole, inevitably a fat asshole, will always monopolize one of the center poles on a subway car and just lean his entire fucking body up against it. Really, dude? Have some regard for the people around you. Have some regard for the fact that it's rush hour and people are trying to grab something to hang on to because these subway cars cannot control themselves. They're flying around like whirling dervishes, for God's sake. There's the type that we can see a very clearly full, packed to bursting subway car, yet will still insist upon trying to jam themselves in once it pulls into station. It's like, are you for real right now? Do you not have eyes in your head? Are they not working? Can you not see that this is a full subway car? What the actual fuck, sir or madam? I guess it could be yeah, I've seen some women do it too. What the hell? I just like the subway makes me angrier than anything in the city, even Times Square. And it sucks because it's something I have to use every day, like literally every day. I cannot swim to Brooklyn to get to work. Like, certainly not this type of year.
I wouldn't suggest that at all. I wouldn't.
Certainly not
suggest
this
it
time
anyway.
Right. The East River and the Hudson, there's just all kinds of shit floating around in there. Dead bodies, worse stuff.
Stuff. Shoving buddies.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I literally have no choice but to take the subway every day and encounter these assholes. And so it's omnipresent, you might say, in my life. Yeah, it's my horns down. People, especially around the holidays, you'd think like people might have a little bit of sense, a little bit of courtesy around them in the holidays, but no, it actually just gets worse. Strangely enough.
Of course it does.
So yeah, that's my horns down. Assholes riding the subway because they're assholes. Riding the subway like assholes because they're assholes, I should say.
I mean, Dan, haven't you learned the world revolves around each and every one of those individual people somehow?
I know,
according to them, dicks.
But yeah, that is my horns down. I will waste no further energy on those people. But yeah, that's Horns Up, Horns Down, and that is the podcast for this week. A reminder, as always, check out the Horns Up blog for more daily content, hornsupmetalshow.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We are at facebook.com/hornsuppodcast, Twitter at hornsuppodcast. You can subscribe to the Horns Up podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podbean. You name it, we're on it. Tell your friends, get them to subscribe. We certainly appreciate you spreading the word. And yeah, keep an eye out over the next couple of weeks for the rest of our year-end top 25. And that'll do it. This has been episode 31. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.